What if I told you that the person who held the keys to Yu Menglong's final hours wasn't a stranger, but someone closer than we ever imagined? What if the last person to see him alive wasn't just a bystander, but potentially the one holding secrets that could turn this entire investigation upside down? And here's the real question: why did police suddenly summon his manager, the one man who was supposed to protect him, for a tense interrogation? By the end of this video, I'll reveal a shocking theory about a mysterious conversation that could completely change how we see Yu Menglong's death. So, don't blink, because every detail is about to matter. In this video, you're not just getting the headlines you've seen online, you're going to get the deeper picture, the behind-the-scenes tension, and the whispers that are already spreading like wildfire. From the chilling inconsistencies in his manager's timeline to the strange silence surrounding Yu Menglong's last phone calls, we're piecing together fragments that could expose a truth far darker than anyone expected. Stick with me, because by the time we reach the end, you'll be left questioning whether this was truly an accident, or something that was carefully orchestrated. The police station was unusually quiet that evening, almost too quiet, as Yu Menglong's manager stepped through the heavy glass doors. Cameras had already gathered outside, their flashes cutting through the dim twilight like daggers. He tried to keep his composure, but his trembling hands betrayed the calm expression he plastered on his face. Witnesses say his shirt collar was damp with sweat, and as he adjusted his mask, a single muttered phrase slipped out: "This is not what it looks like." The officers didn't respond. They simply escorted him inside, where a sterile interrogation room, lit by a single buzzing fluorescent light, awaited. From the very start, investigators wanted answers. Where was he during Yu Menglong's final hours? Why did his phone records show unanswered calls during a critical window of time? And why had he contradicted himself in earlier statements to the press, first saying he was with Menglong until the very end, and then later claiming he had stepped out for a quick meeting? The walls inside that interrogation room seemed to close in as the first questions were fired. The manager fumbled with his words, at times speaking too fast, at others pausing as if calculating his next sentence. Detectives took note of everything: the way his eyes darted, the way his voice cracked when asked about the last time he saw Menglong alive. One investigator, who has handled some of the country's most complex celebrity cases, later described the moment as watching a man who knew more than he wanted to admit. But let's rewind for a moment. Who exactly is Yu Menglong's manager, and why is he suddenly at the center of this storm? Known for being fiercely protective of his star client, he was often seen shadowing Menglong at shoots, shielding him from paparazzi, and even managing his personal errands. Fans often joked that he was Menglong's shadow, never more than a few steps behind. So, how could this man, who claimed to be his closest ally, now find himself under such suspicion? The timeline is where things get chilling. On the night before Yu Menglong's tragic fall, neighbors reported hearing raised voices coming from his apartment. At first, many dismissed it as ordinary noise. Celebrities argue, they stress, they shout. But one neighbor specifically mentioned hearing a second voice, deep and sharp, cutting through Menglong's normally calm tone. When police matched the time of that noise to the manager's supposed location, things didn't quite align. He claimed he was across town handling logistics for a new drama deal. But CCTV cameras suggested otherwise, showing a car resembling his pulling up to the very building Menglong lived in. During the interrogation, detectives pressed on this point. "Were you at the building that night?" one officer asked firmly. For a split second, silence. Then the manager laughed nervously, saying it must have been a coincidence, maybe a car that just looked like his. But investigators weren't buying it. The car's license plate, though blurry, carried numbers that matched his vehicle too closely to ignore. Viewers, here's where it gets even more bizarre. Sources close to the investigation leaked that the manager's phone pinged near Menglong's apartment around the very same time. Location data doesn't lie, and in this case, it painted a picture far different from the one he had been desperately trying to sell. So, what was really happening in those final hours? One shocking theory suggests that Menglong and his manager were not on the best of terms before the incident. Rumors point to financial disagreements, money missing, contracts mishandled, and even a potential betrayal involving endorsements. If true, this could explain the heated argument that neighbors overheard, and why the manager might be scrambling now to cover his tracks. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. Could the manager also be the key witness who knows exactly who else was in that apartment that night? Some insiders claim Menglong wasn't alone. That another figure, someone from the industry with equal stakes in silence, was present too. If this is true, then the manager's hesitation during interrogation might not just be about protecting himself, it might be about protecting someone far more powerful. Police sources describe his behavior during questioning as anxiously cooperative. That means he wasn't outright defiant, but his eagerness to explain seemed almost rehearsed. He kept repeating the phrase, "I just wanted to keep him safe," as though he needed the officers to believe it. But safe from what? Or rather, from whom? As the hours ticked by, the interrogation shifted gears. Detectives pulled out a set of photos, grainy CCTV stills from the lobby of Menglong's building. One frame showed a tall figure entering the elevator, just minutes before Menglong was last seen. Another showed a second figure leaving in haste, their face partially obscured by a hood. When investigators placed these images in front of the manager, his reaction was startling. His body stiffened, his breathing grew shallow, and for a brief moment, his mask slipped, both literally and figuratively. He adjusted his mask with shaking hands and refused to look at the photos again. Fans outside the station, meanwhile, were losing their minds. Social media was ablaze with hashtags, theories, and speculation. Was the manager about to crack under pressure? Was this the breakthrough moment the case needed? Or was he just being scapegoated, an easy target while the real culprit remained in the shadows? Inside, the pressure mounted. An officer leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Tell us who was there that night. Tell us why your story doesn't add up." The manager's lips quivered, but no words came out. Instead, he asked for water, his throat suddenly dry. The silence in that room was deafening. Every second dragged like an eternity, and the detective's mute silence can sometimes reveal more than words. Here's the part that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Some insiders are whispering that the manager finally dropped a name, but that name hasn't been released to the public. Could it be someone within Menglong's close circle? A co-star? A business rival? Or someone entirely unexpected? The secrecy surrounding this information is what fuels the suspicion that we've only scratched the surface. Viewers, think about it. If this manager was truly innocent, wouldn't he have just answered plainly? Why dodge? Why sweat? Why break down under the weight of simple questions? Unless, of course, the truth he's hiding is bigger than himself. And this brings us back to the ultimate theory. Could Yu Menglong's death have been staged, not just a tragic fall, but a meticulously planned event? Could the manager, willingly or unwillingly, have been part of covering it up? And if so, who stands to gain the most from Menglong's silence? The police are still piecing the puzzle together, but one thing is clear: this interrogation has opened doors that cannot be closed. Every inconsistency, every nervous laugh, every pause in the manager's testimony is now under the microscope. And as the investigation pushes forward, the world is watching closely. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, do you believe the manager is guilty of hiding the truth, or is he simply another pawn in a much larger game? Could he be protecting someone powerful enough to orchestrate a cover-up? Or is this all just an elaborate misunderstanding fueled by rumors and half-truths? The interrogation room was suffocatingly tense. A faint hum from the flickering fluorescent light buzzed above, casting harsh shadows across the manager's face. His breathing was uneven, his hands nervously tapping against the cold metal table. Across from him, two detectives sat still, their eyes unblinking, their pens ready to capture every hesitation, every crack in his story. "Let's go back again," one detective said firmly, leaning closer. "The last hours of Yu Menglong's life. Where were you? What did you see? What did you hear?" The manager's lips parted, but for a moment, no sound came out. The silence was louder than any scream. Then, finally, he spoke. I wasn't there the way you think. I wasn't." He paused, swallowing hard, his Adam's apple bobbing visibly. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Those words hung in the air like a guillotine. The detectives exchanged a quick glance, sensing that something far bigger was about to unravel. From the very beginning, suspicion had circled around this man. He wasn't just a manager, he was Yu Menglong's closest companion, the one who controlled his schedule, guarded his secrets, and kept him away from scandals. Fans used to admire the loyalty, even romanticizing the way he shielded Menglong from reporters. But now, in this cold room, his loyalty seemed less like protection and more like possession. The detectives laid out photographs on the table. One showed a blurry figure in the lobby, another a vehicle parked outside Menglong's building that matched his. "Why does your timeline not align with this evidence?" the officer demanded. The manager's hands shook as he picked up one of the photos, staring at it like it might swallow him whole. That can't be me. You're mistaken. I left earlier. I wasn't there at that time." But his voice betrayed him. It cracked, faltered, and drifted off, as though he no longer believed his own words. Then came the moment that made even the seasoned investigators lean forward. A detective slid across a file, phone records, location pings, timestamps. "Your phone connected to a tower less than 200 meters from Yu Menglong's apartment at 11:47 p.m., the officer stated flatly. That was just minutes before neighbors reported hearing shouting from inside. The manager's face drained of color. He gripped the edge of the table so tightly his knuckles turned white. I just wanted to check on him," he finally whispered. "He wasn't answering my calls. He sounded strange earlier that day." But the officers weren't convinced. Check on him? Or confront him? The manager's eyes darted back and forth. Sweat dripped from his forehead. His mask, both literal and emotional, was slipping. For a man trained to control narratives and protect reputations, he suddenly looked like someone cornered by the very truth he had spent days trying to bury. And then, almost in a slip of the tongue, he admitted something chilling. "We argued. I didn't want to, but he was angry. He said he knew things that could ruin everything." That sentence changed the entire tone of the room. What things was Yu Menglong threatening to expose? Was it about contracts, finances, or something much darker? The detectives leaned in closer, pressing him for clarity. But the manager quickly backtracked, shaking his head. "It doesn't matter. He was emotional. He didn't mean it." But everyone in that room knew the damage was done. His vague admission had opened a door investigators had been trying to unlock since day one. At this point, the interrogation became psychological. Detectives began shifting their questions, circling back to the same points, watching for inconsistencies. They brought up Menglong's final phone calls, which were left unanswered. They reminded the manager of his contradictory statements to the press. They even mentioned the CCTV footage, the mysterious hooded figure leaving the building. And with each mention, the manager grew more restless, more fragile. He tugged at his sleeves, shifted in his seat, and avoided eye contact. His rehearsed lines were unraveling, and in their place came half-truths, stutters, and panicked deflections. Outside the station, chaos reigned. Fans pressed against barriers, their cries echoing through the night. Some shouted the manager's name with anger, calling him a traitor. Others begged for his innocence, insisting that he was being framed. The divide was sharp, the emotions raw, as the world held its breath to see if this man would break under pressure. Back inside, the detectives played their final card. They showed him the grainy still of the two figures in the lobby, one entering, one leaving. "If you weren't there, then who is this?" The manager's reaction was explosive. His chair screeched as he pushed back violently, his face twisted with fear. "Don't show me that again," he shouted, his voice trembling. His breakdown was immediate and uncontrollable, and for investigators, that was confirmation enough. He knew who was in that photo, and he was terrified of saying their name. As the hours dragged on, the interrogation became less about if he knew something and more about how much he was willing to reveal. And here's where the theory emerges. What if the manager wasn't acting alone? What if someone else, far more powerful, was pulling the strings, and the manager's silence was not just about guilt but about survival? Could it be a co-star with hidden rivalries? A business partner with millions at stake? Or someone in the shadows who had more to lose than any of them? The detectives ended the session with one chilling line: "You're either a witness or an accomplice. And soon, the truth will show us which one you are." The manager was escorted out, his head bowed, his body trembling. But outside, the cameras caught it all, the sweat on his forehead, the panic in his eyes, the collapse of the man once thought to be Menglong's most loyal guardian. Viewers, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. Do you believe Yu Menglong's manager is truly hiding the truth of that night? Do you think his silence is protecting himself or protecting someone else entirely? Could this interrogation be the beginning of a massive revelation that will shake the entire industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your theories. Do you think the manager is guilty, or just a pawn caught in someone else's dangerous game? And if you found this breakdown as shocking as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and of course, subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next update, because trust me, the twists in this story are only getting started.